Welcome to Monday's Leftovers, where we break bread over Sunday soul food. As always, I just want to take a minute to thank you for pulling up a seat at the table with me as I go ahead and attempt to turn my sermon notes into spiritual nourishment. On this past Sunday, Pastor came from Matthew 11, verses 2 through 6, and he titled his sermon, Picking Up What God is Putting Down. And so ultimately we'll reach the conclusion of remembering your training. But I don't want to jump ahead. A synopsis from the text is that this is when John the Baptist is imprisoned, and he sends his disciples to Jesus to pretty much say, now I thought you was the one, but I don't understand why I'm still in this jail. So is somebody else coming? And that's not really what he said, but it's the gist. And so the first question that Pastor starts off in his sermon is, what is God up to when life has a hold on you? And I feel like that's a question that we all can relate to in the midst of life hitting you blow for blow. You catching it in the chest, in the chin, in the head, in the back, in the legs. It's tearing you up, back up against the wall. You can't do anything about it. And all you can think of is, God, why me? God, what is it that you're trying to show me? God, help me, something, right? So like a good teacher is, or like a good teacher does, he starts off with unfamiliar vocab and he introduces us to the concept of spiritual disorientation. And he says that this is when we find ourselves hurt, even as we believe in the God of heaven, while we're catching hell and asking God to show us what he's up to. And so in other words, this is just when you're going through life and none of it is making sense. You feel like you're doing everything right and things just keep finding a way to go wrong. And we only got 2 feet, but 20 different shoes then fail, right? He said it is trying to walk by faith and not by sight, but you don't hear anything. That is spiritual disorientation. And that illustrates maybe the moment or the mindset that John the Baptist is operating in this moment. Like he's walking righteously. He's been the forerunner. He's done all the things, but he doesn't understand. Like, not only am I in jail, because that makes sense, but why am I still in here when we got the Messiah, the Son of God here? Why he ain't just got me up out of here? And so he's not understanding the bigger picture. He goes in to say John the Baptist anticipated the advent of Christ and proclaimed with power about Jesus being on the way. Yet and still I'm still in jail. I did everything I was supposed to do, but I'm still here in this situation. And before I continue I just want to say, like, rather recently that I've experienced that, like, just about a week ago, where you feel like you are walking the walk, you're constantly with God, like you're sitting in it, you're trying to be better, you're trying to grow, you're trying to allow him to develop you, and things just keep finding a way to go wrong. He said now he's in a dark place for something he did in the past while being a prisoner in his present. And the pastor goes on to say, you can do good and life will still go bad on you. And I have adopted the mindset or a moment of encouragement that I always give myself is that, God, even when I don't understand, I believe. I have accepted that when those moments that don't make sense happen and they leave me spiritually disoriented, those are my reminders that I need to step back and I need to remember the lessons that God taught me from the last test. Like, okay, so I'm in the midst and I'm going through this, but what is it that he's already revealed to me in the past that I've already dealt with that I could use, to make it through this moment? And that ignites the teacher in me, how, like, during testing, I'm silent. I'm watching my kids show me that they are able to use the tools of success that I provided them in the past. And from there, I modify how I go. If they don't pass it, then they have to keep relearning that lesson. But if they do, then the rigor increases and it's just new tests. So at no point are we just coasting and everything is good, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. In order for them to fully develop and be grown, they have to be tried, they have to be tested. And so John the Baptist is in that season. It says he's in this darkness and nothing has happened to show him that things are about to change. been there, right? It says he did the right thing, but the outcome to him felt wrong. And again, just back to like, we can feel like we've put in all the effort for things to go right, but yet things keep going wrong. It says Jesus hasn't come to him after he did the forerunning, right? Which creates a kind of an assault on his mental. And we've been there, which kind of ties us back to the spiritual disorientations. And it says, when you walk by faith, every day is a day of trying to pick up what God puts down, even when we're down, even when we're disoriented. In those moments, God, reveal to me what it is that I'm supposed to learn in this moment. God, stand up in me. God, grant me strength, grant me serenity, those sorts of things. But in the midst of all the dark, still seeking his light, which brings us to the 3 kingdom keys or takeaways that he offered on what we can do to pick up what God is putting down. And so the 3 are: 1, make an inquiry of the Savior; 2, interpret the signs; and then 3, you're independent of your situation. And so for 1, making an inquiry of the Savior, just historically, culturally speaking, we're told not to question God, but there's many instances in the Bible where he was questioned and there was reassurance provided for their ask. Example, Gideon in Judges 6 before war, Job, and then even Jesus before taking on the cross. And so he said that it's okay to ask faith-filled questions where, God, I believe you for these things, even though I can't see it, but God, help me understand. God, grant me clarity. God, grant me the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, those sorts of things. And he said that at least when you question God, you're turning to God and not away from him, because there's people that go through things and then they don't make sense of they can't make sense of it. They blame God and then they disconnect. And so at least if you're questioning him, you're still sitting with him. You're still trying to be with him as you try to figure those things out. Step 2, interpret the signs. It says, Jesus receives the ask and tell them to report what they've seen and heard. So they obviously saw him healing the sick, giving sight to the blind, right? The only way for them to have the report of faith to send back to John the Baptist is if they waited, which reminds me of a motto that I've kind of come to live by, which is in between the provision and the promise is preparation, and recognizing that in the way God is pruning you and developing you to access said promise, to be ready to receive when it is time. And so I put trust his process and stop reaching for the pen. A lot of times when things go wrong in our life, the first thing we do is we try to reauthor that story. Well, this didn't go this way, so let me do this. Instead of stopping, surrendering, and seeking God to, help us get through, guide our steps to what it is that we're supposed to do next. He said, God gives signs of God gives signs of hope in the midst of hell. And we've all been there. Sometimes in the moment you don't see it because you're blinded by the burden of what it is that you're experiencing. But when you get out, usually you can look back and you will see that there were inklings of light that God tried to bestow upon you. You just weren't ready to receive it. And then he said, God may not be in the market of explaining, but he is in the business of sustaining. So he may not tell you why he's doing something, but he will reassure you that it's all worthwhile. And then 3, you're independent of your situation. The reading closes off with saying at verse 6, blessed is anyone who does not stumble on account of me. That's NIV version. And he said, blessed is the one who trusts and does not trip. And so he said, this is like reaching for him in the dark and trusting him to be the guide, knowing that he is the light in the midst of our dark. And then he went on, like a good teacher does, and defined blessed as used in this context. And he said, favor even when the situation is unfavorable. And a lot of times we say that we're blessed for that exact reason, because we made it through something unfavorable, but we don't know that until after we made it. But what if you could see it in the midst of, you had the faith in the midst of your trials, in the midst of your tribulations, in the midst of your darkness, to know that you were going to make it through. This also reminded me, just kind of, I don't know if I read it or if I heard it, but where you are not to allow what's going on outside of you to taint what's inside of you. So just another reminder, just like we battle not against flesh and blood, right? So not allowing the habits or the behaviors of other people to change your heart. Still being who you are, still trying to embody God's love and God's light. Just to connect that back to kingdom key number 3, that we're independent of our situation, is just to recognize that what we go through does not define who we are, but it does help develop us into who we're meant to be. So we're blessed because of the favor that we have in those unfavorable situations. We are blessed because we see and we accept that these moments are meant to grow and to develop us. We are blessed because we persevere. We are blessed because we allow God's work to work. We are blessed because you got to see it through, my boy. And picking up what God is putting down, my song choice is